Good morning, everybody. It's Angie with Dog Days Designs, and this morning I'm going to do this quick video to show you how I go about stripping my epoxy cups. If for whatever reason, sometimes you're just going to have to strip a cup. I've got a 20-ounce tumbler that I am going to be stripping. I'm not happy with this. This is for a pretty big order, and some of the vinyl had crinkled, and there's really no way to fix it other than stripping it. So that's what we're going to do. What you're going to need is aluminum foil. You're going to need enough paper towels to cover the piece of aluminum foil you're going to cut, and a Ziploc bag. And you're also going to need a bucket to put your tumbler in. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off, we're just gonna cut a piece of aluminum foil that is big enough to completely wrap your whatever size cup that you need to strip. And then once you have that down, I take my paper towels and I break them into the squares, and I wanna make sure that I cover the aluminum foil, basically the inside part of the aluminum foil, or what is going to be the inside part of the aluminum foil. Now you can use different products in stripping. Some folks use acetone, some use citrus strip. I haven't used citrus strip, so I really can't vouch for how well it works. All I could tell you is when I started doing these cups and had to strip my first one, the acetone method was the first one I came upon. So I used it and it works amazingly well. I haven't had any problems whatsoever as far as having any difficulty removing epoxy paint, vinyl, decals, anything like that. So this has been working pretty well for me. Now, I will say that when you are working with acetone or any kind of chemical like that, you should wear protective gear. But for the sake of the video, if I wore a mask, you wouldn't really be able to hear me. So I am sacrificing myself. And typically I wear gloves, again, with what I have to work with and everything. This is pretty much a one-time deal. Anytime I'm doing a video like this, I will sacrifice my lungs. Just so you can hear me, because I know, and it's minimal. I'm not saying that it's not harmful, but it's minimal, and you're gonna have to, unless you're standing over acetone and you're just inhaling the fumes 24 hours a day, then I think every once in a blue moon, it's not gonna hurt you. So this is the acetone. Like I said, when you pour it, you want your paper towels to be drenched. You don't want them damp. You want them completely wet or drenched, and I go more a little on the drenched side when I do this. Okay, you want to be careful because, like I said, I have this big gallon, so the acetone will have a tendency to come down the sides and drip off the bottom, so I want to make sure I'm not hanging this gallon like over the side of the aluminum foil to where it's dripping on something you don't want it dripped on. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to, I guess you could say cautiously, just splotch some acetone along the paper towels here, and like you can see, you know, the aluminum foil starting to come through a little bit, and you can hear it as it's hitting. So, and I'm thinking we're pretty good right now. This is pretty much drenched, because what you really want to try to avoid is after you wrap your cups, that's the next step. I'm going to show you how I wrap them. And it's really easy. If you've ever worked in a sandwich shop or wrapped a burrito or anything like that, it's the same concept. You just want to make sure that you have everything covered up, and you want to make sure that that acetone is completely covering your cup. And it isn't so much the liquid part of the acetone that is going to remove your epoxy and paint or anything like that. Believe it or not, it's actually the fumes. So we're going to take this cup, yeah, it's a 20-ounce tumbler, and we're just going to set it down here, and we are going to take the paper towels and we are just going to wrap the cup like so. I'm gonna pull the paper towels back. And like I said, this is where the sandwich wrapper, burrito, tortilla, whatever technique kind of comes into play. And you just kind of tuck everything in, and you take your paper towel wrapped cup, bring it down to the corner of the aluminum foil, and you're gonna wrap the aluminum foil right over that. And I like wrapping it tight. And we're just gonna make ourselves a little acetone cut burrito. We'll wrap that. And you wanna make sure, I like to make sure that everything is pretty well sealed with the film. Now I see I put too much acetone on the paper towels because when I wrapped it, I can feel some of the acetone leaking through the aluminum foil, which is fine, that's okay. It's not too terribly much, and with the acetone, it does evaporate quickly. And then what I do is, being that these Ziploc bags have a nice little area to write on, I will write down the date and the time that it went in. So it is May 18th of 2020, and it is about, we'll just put down 8 a.m. because I'm gonna have, I already got a cup in there stripping, so at least this way I know which cup is which that I need to pull out. So I put it in my Ziploc bag, like so. And then before I seal it, I try to get as much of the air out as possible. And then I seal it. And there you have it. And then after this, once you've got it sealed in the bag, take your bucket. And like I said, I have another cup in here that is stripping. And you could have more than one cup. And take your bucket, your cup, put your cup inside. Take your lid, cover that bucket back up. Because like I said, it's pretty much the fumes that is going to take the epoxy and the paint and everything off of it. And then I'm just gonna let that, put that aside, let that sit. And then tomorrow morning, we'll go ahead and we will strip the cup. All right, we're gonna unwrap. I had a couple cups to do last night, so I'm not exactly sure which cup this is gonna be. So, but anyway, concept is the same. So we're gonna unwrap our burrito cup here. If I can find the, it. So, all right, we're gonna unwrap, like I said, all of the acetone soaked paper towels. I'm gonna keep the clean ones. I just put the clean ones aside that are just strictly soaked in the acetone. But as we get closer to that other layer, you're gonna see how the epoxy is gonna be all cracked and it's gonna slide right off. And I will say, ideally, you know, if you expect the paint to come off with the epoxy because you're stripping the cup. Being that this was an ombre and had a bunch of glitter on it, I'm going to be speculative that the paint might stay on, which, depending on what you need that cup for, that could be fine because that'll save you a step in having to go back and respray paint everything. If it comes out to where just the epoxy comes off and the paint remains, then all you need to do is just clean it down really good with some alcohol. If you need to do a couple touch-ups, go ahead and just respray paint it. It's not going to hurt anything. But if the epoxy comes off and the paint is still intact, It just saves you that step of having to respray paint everything. All you have to do is just, like I said, Dawn soap and water, clean it up really good to where it's not sticky, because acetone will leave like a sticky residue after it's evaporated. So you want to make sure you get that off of there, only to apply a more stickier substance to reapply the glitter or whatever it is that you're going to do with it. Now, if you need to completely redo it, I would recommend anytime you have a cup like this to where you've got the spray paint and the glitter on it, this sat for 24 hours, I would probably let it go for maybe 48 to where it all comes off in one shot. So this is just overnight, 24 hours, and you could see how the epoxy and everything just kind of crackled. And this is just going to slide right off. And it, see, and there you go. See, and you can see how with the acetone, it's taking the paint with it, which is ideally, I mean, I would prefer it that way. But sometimes if you have an order that you need to get out, I'm not saying take a shortcut, but if it saves you from having to repaint the cup. And then I just take my wet paper towels, and I'll go through this paper towel. Isn't really all that wet. So I may have to wrap this again. And some acetone. Actually, I've got acetone in my handy dandy bottle here. And you can see it just comes off. And if you have one of those stainless steel spray bottles, I got this off of Amazon. And I've got some acetone in there specifically for this purpose. And all I'm doing is just re-wetting the cup. Putting a little bit of elbow grease into it. And it's just going to take the paint right off. So, and like I said, just make sure that after you've removed all the paint, that you go back and you clean it really good with some soap and water, just to remove some of that residue that's left behind, because you don't want that interfering with whatever you're going to be putting on it. You always want to start with a clean cup. And like I said, this is just and we're just going to go through, and basically I'm just going to go through. I'm sure you don't want to, but we're going to go through and we're going to take off the rest of this paint. And like I said, that's going to take maybe all of 5 minutes, but that is the way the acetone method works. No chipping, no grinding, no sanding. Just wrap it in a couple paper towels and then wrap that in aluminum foil, throw it in a Ziploc bag, let it sit at least 24 hours, and you will have a stripped cup. And there you have it. And you can see, you can feel, I mean, that's the stickiness of the acetone and the paint and epoxy and everything. So that's what's left behind on your cup. That's why I recommend that once it's stripped, just wash it with some Dawn soap and water, and it'll take that sticky residue right off, and you're good to go to start another project. Thanks for watching.